Hi, I'm Sharon and welcome to my channel and to part 8 of my creative journaling series. In this video, I'm continuing my look at Concertina Sketchbooks. As I mentioned in my last video, I started making and working in these Concertina Sketchbooks about 3 years ago for a class I took with Karen Stamper when I found that they were really expensive to buy here in Australia. So I started making them with materials I already had. Depending on the size, I can make anywhere from 2 to 5 or 6 sketchbooks for the price of a small commercial one. I cut mine from big sheets of Reeves mixed media paper, which I buy in packs of 6. And that's the label, if you can see that, hopefully. These huge sheets, but smaller sheets will work just as well. You'll just need to have more joins. I love this paper because it's great for all kinds of wet media, but not as thick as watercolor paper, so it's much easier to fold into the concertina. I add some grey board covers from a stock I have for bookmaking, and that's what this looks like. You can buy it in all different sizes, but I bought this in a pack. It's 2 types of greys, but you can also use recycled pad covers, art pad covers or drawing pad covers. I keep all of mine. You never know when they're going to come in handy. These can be great for any sort of book cover. So I first cut strips the height that I want my finished book to be. And here I've got some offcuts from making other size sketchbooks. And these are 3.5 inches high. And I've decided I also want it to be a square book, so I want then each fold to be 3.5 inches. So I measure and fold into 3.5 inch sections and leave a lip on the end, which will glue the sections together. So I'll just show you how I do that. I use a scoreboard, but you can also use a ruler and pencil. You just have to make sure that you're spot on with your sections. Bring that in to 3.5. Now I've got 3 folds, and I fold like that, like so. But as you can see, unfortunately, it's a little bit uneven. So what I'm going to do is refold so that the top and bottom match up, and refold. Turn it over, do the same thing here. Or the other thing that I found works really well is to mark the first one, fold it, and fold it up so that it's exactly matching top and bottom. Fold that, and then what I do is I take a pencil and I mark exactly down that line. And that way I find that I know my sections are exactly the same. And don't worry about which way the folds are going at this stage. You can refold them to the right direction when you're putting the book together. Okay, now I've got all my sections folded. Now to glue them together. So this paper that I use has a texture. So I decide that I'm going to make my book with the textured side up. You can also make your little flap a lot bigger if you want to, but because I'm using offcuts, I only had a certain amount left over on the strips. Okay, so now take your first two strips. I use a little bit of PVA on the flap, but craft glue would work just as nicely, any sort of craft glue. And I glue that. Make sure top and bottom line up. And make sure that your folds nicely as well. Your crease folds nicely. Leave it to sit for a minute. You can also put a little strip of masking tape on the back if you want to keep working on it, and that'll hold it while you keep working on all the folds. And I'm actually going to have to refold. So now I've joined all my sections together. I just want to show you that it's so easy to get them a little bit uneven, and it's definitely harder when I'm doing it on by camera. But this just shows you how important it is that each strip is exactly the same. Although, because these are just a little bit of fun, I don't pay too much attention to that. Basically, it's finished. I then just add little covers, these little grey board covers that are I've cut to exactly 3.5 inch square, and I glue them front and back. So what I found, I'm going to need to cut this section off so that this board sits on the back like that. If I sit it like that, it's not going to be a cover. It's not going to be a fold that in the right place. So I'll cut that section off. Glue my covers on and I'll be back. So I'm back. I've left my little book under something heavy so that the cover's dried. And I don't know, it might sound silly, but I just love the spring action and just how amazing these feel to sit in the hand. I forgot to mention why I add covers. I actually find that the covers give it weight on the table when I'm working in them. You can see, give some weight. Also makes it feel more like a book. But you don't have to add covers. I have one here that I haven't ever given a cover. It's much smaller, but that works just as nicely. One of the other things that you can do is to actually take a whole sheet of paper or whatever you're using as your pages for your book, and you can actually work into it with your mixed media, your drawing, whatever your collage, whatever you want to do, whatever the finished product is for you. You can actually work on a whole sheet and then cut it down and join it together into a concertina, like I've done with my larger ones. The full-size A2 sheets of mixed media paper, I joined 3 of them together, and then when I'd finished working in them, I cut them down into strips and then joined those strips. So now we've got the little book. What can you do in it? Well, I find I love to start my concertinas with a big bold line, big Posca, my big black Posca. And I like to move that across the pages just to start. It breaks it in. This one's very long. Then you can take other mark making tools. I've just got a fine alcohol marker here, and you can just Same thing, add some marks. I try not to be too precious with these. So a couple of minutes of mark making, and I've already got a start on this new little book. Then you can add some little pieces of collage, lots of paint if you want to. Really, the whole idea of these books is just to have some fun. And as I showed you in the last video, I love the way you can read them as sections or as part of the story, or you can open up and have a look at the whole story in one sitting. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this mini tutorial on Concertina Sketchbooks. Until next time, thanks for watching and bye for now.